Hi, it's Gadget UK here again, back with sort of exciting but also stressing me out already, A3000, Commodore Amiga A3000. This belongs to Cathers. It suffered a bit of an ouchie here from a battery leak. It's like, look at it, it's green, there's like copper here, it's like green pins, green around here. I think it's got under the Agnes, is that Agnes? I think it is. Even up as far as the RAM here on the de-interlace stuff, that's amber. You know, you've got a flicker fixer built in, de-interlacing as standard on these. Yeah, they're really nice Amiga 3000s. I don't think I'll ever have one because they're so rare and they're so blooming expensive. There's a lot of chips on this board. Luckily, everything's pretty much socketed. You know, if you look at the back end of the board here, look at all the big chips. It's because you've got a Super DMAC, I think. There might be a Ramsey, yeah there is, there's a Ramsey here. You've got the same CPU slot as on a 4000, that's looking a bit dirty as well, that needs a clean up. Plenty of sockets here for RAM, looks of this zip stuff. This is hard to find as well these days. Got your kickstart ROMs here, that's the DMAC I think, Super DMAC is it. And we're going to have a Denise and Gary and I don't know, something else around it. It may even have a Super Gary on this, I'm honestly not sure. Yeah, nevertheless, because it's got SCSI built in as well, that's the other thing, you've got SCSI built in, lots of RAM on board, de-interlacer, CPU slot. It's a really nice desirable board this, apart from when the batteries leak. Yeah, and this is pretty blooming extreme. Let me zoom you in a bit. Yeah, just look at how bad that is. That is not pleasant at all. So, I'm not even going to test this as things stand. I'll ask Cathers if this is working, but I can't imagine it is in that state. And then I'm going to proceed to removing everything around here, I think. There's no other real way to do this. I think I'm going to have to, remove these 7.4 series, remove all these passives, capacitors, resistors, etc. all around here. Remove this and that socket, this, everything around here. Crystal. I think that might be the real-time clock chip. I don't know, I can't see it, it's so green. But it's right next to the battery. I mean, the real-time clock chip could be over here somewhere. That might be the real-time clock chip actually, now I think about it, it's just sort of on the edge of the shot there. You know, it's got right up here, can you see how dirty the board is here? The corrosion's gone everywhere. So, I don't know, I might not be able to repair this. If I'd seen it was like this, I would have refused to look at this, if I'm completely honest. It's a bit different if it's my own, because I'm like, well, if I spend like 3 months trying to repair it, it's worth it. But I don't know. It's going to take an insane amount of time just to remove the stuff here and fix any traces and things. And it's similarly corroded on the underside. If I just carefully lift this up and show you the underside of that area, even the underside's pretty extensively affected as well. So, yeah, and it might come as a surprise to you, but I actually think this is going to be one of the shortest repairs of my channel ever, because I think I'm going to refuse to do this. I know it's cost him some money to send it, but he did send it with the 4000 as well. The 4000 fixed. This, if I'd received this, I don't even know whether I would have a go at doing this, to be honest, because it's just so bad. There's just so much corroded, I mean like really corroded on this. It's like the Archimedes, and you know what, if I had another one of those Archimedes A3000s in the same state of the last 4 or 5 that ended up passing on, I'd have passed them on. Or I'd remove all of the parts. I mean, look at the pins there. I've just cleaned the fiberglass, used the fiberglass pen there. The black. It's like, so that chip's going to need replacing. There's going to be loads of chips need replacing here. They're not just slightly corroded, they are extensively corroded. The PCB is absolutely shot in this whole area. A wee bit closer there. Yeah, I cleaned around these with the fiberglass pencil. You know, even that diode, you saw like the diodes need replacing, the caps need replacing, the resistors need replacing, all of the 7.4 series of stuff around here, and probably some of these customs may need replacing. I might be able to clean the legs up, but it's extensive. It's extensive. I don't want to spend 3 weeks or more on this. It's just not productive use of my time. Even if Cathers agrees, and he did say, I'll pay you. I don't want paying. Even if he wants to pay me, and what's he going to do? Pay me by the hour? Because if he pays me by the hour, it's going to cost way more than it would be to maybe send this to someone like Chucky and get Chucky to do a re-Amiga with it, just like pull the customs off and just put them on another board. This board is shot. This is way worse than the 2000s I fixed for the terrible Fire series. You might think I'm just giving up too soon, but no, it's just everywhere around here. Everything around here is going to have to come off. So much is going to have to be replaced. It's just terrible. You're using vinegar at the moment, by the way. See, I mean, just look how black the pins are on that, and those have been fiberglassed for a lot. And just a gentle wipe, and that's coming off. They're not even going to desolder these things. The solder points are so shot from the corrosion that I'm going to have to scratch every single solder point with something like this to get the stuff off the surface. And then I don't know how. It's not going to desolder. I know it's not. From prior experience, this is like that A500 plus times 10 or more. That took me an incredible amount of effort. Would I fix one of those again that way? No, I wouldn't. Which is why, even though this is a really nice, desirable machine, and it would mean lots of Cathers and stuff, it's just like, I can't afford to spend the time on it. I literally won't have a video up for the next month or two, maybe, while I work on this, and it's just like, I've got too many of the things in the pipeline. Yeah, it's very sad, but I don't think I can do anything with this. Let's just start taking things off it, I think. Let's just remove the socket chips first of all. Let's get this off here, wherever that is. Is it Denise? I don't think it is, I don't know. Yeah, it could be Denise, because it's next to the scandal stuff, isn't it? So let's just try and get this out. It's really difficult to get a bit of leverage. Yeah, someone explained recently, use contact cleaner, and it's a good point actually, when you've got a problem like that with sockets. We're going to be cleaning this board anyway. Contact cleaner's not going to do any harm. And as I say, yeah, we're not even going to power this up. It would be foolish to power it up as is, because that's where you get latch up and failures and things from pins being short to each other. And of course, this is the thing, some of these customs may not work because people have a tendency to try and clean up with vinegar and then go, well, let's use it, let's see if it works. And it may work for an hour or two until something dies. So let's see what the pins are like on that. So on this side here, they look good actually, good as new. Bit greeny here, bit greeny there. So I don't know, the socket is super green here, and that pin's lifted out a bit there. So that socket needs replacing for sure. Is that socketed? Yeah, it is. The real-time clock is in a socket. Was it originally in a socket? I bet it wasn't. I bet someone's fitted that as part of the original corrosion repair, maybe years in the past, maybe. Maybe it was socketed, because lots of the stuff is. Look at that, that's solid green. The chip is pretty green. Let's take this one out. Is that Polar? Yeah, I think that's a Polar. Yeah, these ones are not stiff, so I didn't really need to add any contact cleaner. So yeah, even Polar's pretty green there, so that's going to need cleaning up. I mean, those are easy to clean up, I think, and the chances are they're probably alright. So I need to get the 8372B out. So this is the first time on my channel we'll have seen a 8372B. I think it's 2 meg, isn't it? I think it's the 2 meg Agnes, but it's got the 8372 bar number, and I could be wrong. I think it is. It's like an 8375 with the older pin out. There we go. So that's the Agnes out. The strap's on, by the way. The pins there look alright actually. Oh, that looks alright. That socket might be okay. Yeah, as things stand, that looks alright actually. But the corrosion's probably got underneath it. This is the thing. So it may have to come off. You know, if these are all green here, why wouldn't that need to come off? We've got a pal here, haven't we? Let's see if we can take out and get a chip extractor. It's kind of more suited to smaller chips, this. Let's just see if we can. Hang on, let's get some contact cleaner on that one that's welded in. Do that one while we're at it. Good God, that is stuck in the socket. There we go. So again, it's looking a bit green, certainly on the top there, and on that side. So the one with the labels at the back, the label may not survive, certainly after it's been sprayed. Let's just see if we can Yeah, perhaps slightly less green than the previous PAL. The sockets there look alright actually. So, I don't know, maybe it is just around here, maybe it's not as bad as I'm thinking. So, you know what, I'm just going to dive in now, I'm going to get the desolder station on. I'm going to desolder the socket, desolder this chip, desolder all these passives around here, desolder this chip, this chip, this chip and this chip, I think. This socket, just see where we're at, and the capacitors and stuff around there, just see where we're at. At that point, you know, clean up all the traces, fiberglass pen, etc. I'll clean further afield with vinegar, give it a really good scrub all around, just have an inspection, see if we can see any signs of the corrosion having gone out further. Might have to take these off actually, because the corrosion's kind of right up here, but anyway, let me get the desolder station heated up. Yeah, so I'm going to start with this socket here. I don't envisage this being easy at all, because what tends to happen, like I said, the solder gets corroded on both sides, and a lot of the time it doesn't come off. Looks like it's come off there, so I don't know, maybe I'm worrying unnecessarily. So I think that's it. I just need to inspect, unblock the odd pin that's still blocked. I'll report back in a sec. Well, despite the fact my desolder station's blocking up every 2 seconds, you can see that came out. Look at the green pins there. Yeah, one of the pins snapped off, went up the desolder station. But yeah, nevertheless, you can see the pads are okay there. Yeah, they just need cleaning and unblocking. So yeah, I'm just going to continue around here, remove some of these passives, remove the resistor array. Those three are alright, I think. Yeah, and just, I don't know, report back in a minute when I've maybe got all this stuff off here. Right, I've had enough for one day. Yeah, Varta, a destroyer of worlds. Look at the state, it's horrendous. So lots of things to unblock, lots of solder mask gone. I think we might have lost half a pad somewhere down one of those, maybe not. Yeah, I used the desolder station, the solder pump, lots of solder, lots of flux. It's incredible how long that one socket took to get off, and I ended up cutting the socket into pieces. Look at that greeny, it's the solder mask that's all coming off there. Vinegar on a cotton bud again. Yeah, you can see we're getting caught there. There's 1 or 2 pins that are sort of like half still in there, which is why it's catching. But anyway, I would get some flux on there, you know, after a few more passes with the fiberglass pen and the vinegar and unblocking the things, a bit of flux and some desolder braid, just tin the tops and things there. Yeah, anyway, there's hope for this, I think. So another short update, the sockets are coming off really easy with the desolder station, but you can see it is pretty bad, and obviously it's just this chip more than that chip, but obviously the legs were affected. So I think by the time we get to up here, I am literally just going to clean with the fiberglass pen and the wire brush, and yeah, further afield. So I think we're alright here, although we've still got a bit of corrosion here, so we might even need to remove some of this RAM here actually, chip RAM I think. I may take these resistor packs off as well, but you know, obviously I'm going to be taking this off, the stuff here, and these 2 or 3 around here I think, as well as that socket. For the moment, I think I may leave the Agnes socket on. And a quick still of how the board looked at this point. Yeah, I think the Agnes socket has got to come off, so started soldering that. The underneath of this board is looking a state, it really is. The top side is not much better. And there we go, that came off really easy, so no damage to the socket, no damage underneath it either, so that's quite a relief. It's just a couple of pins here, a funny colour, but yeah, quick clean, that's it, that's all that needs. So I'll put this in the ultrasonic and clean it up, and we'll just refit the socket, because it's good as new. You know, it's never had the chip like repeatedly removed, and the contacts are super clean inside there. It was probably so flush with the board that the corrosion couldn't get under. So this is the first thing you might expect to want to do on a board like this actually, is use vinegar. You can see it fizzing in places. And have a good brush around. Go right up here and then clean with IPA. You know, we've removed Agnes now, we've removed Paula, Denise. the real-time clock stuff, some gals, some address decoding stuff around here. An XOR, I think. A flip-flop or something like that. It was a 7.4 or 174, wasn't it? But yeah, the corrosion has sort of just, you know, got its way all the way up here. So let's have a little brush around here, fizzy there. Now if I can get this working, I'll probably recap it while I'm here as well. I should take that amber out, we'll do that later. I've got an amber of my own to test actually, but I'm not going to do anything with that until we get this up and running. That amber kindly came from Stefan. He has a contacts in, I think, Canada or the States somewhere. And yeah, he managed to secure me an amber, which is incredible. I'm going to need that for another project. Anyway, you can see it is looking better. So far, I don't see any damage apart from the one trace I didn't point it out. I damaged the trace there. Pulling that socket off, yeah, so I'm going to need one wire under there, but I'll do it on the underneath the socket. I'll follow the trace, join it through the thing, and then stick the socket back on after we've cleaned the socket up. But anyway, just going to leave that for a few minutes, let it fizz away, let it neutralise. May later need to go all the way up here around this RAM because the LED connector around the edge of the board is pretty corroded. And you've got to question if that's corroded. Is anything else up here corroded? Well, I mean, it seems to sort of stopped here, doesn't it? Just on the edges here. And we've seen this stopped here and it stopped here. So it kind of looks like it's sort of here. These are going to come off yet, but just because I'm leaving this overnight and stuff and I haven't actually treated it with vinegar yet, I thought it's a good idea just to do that. It will help. God, it's incredibly messy work like on something like this. This is where you need a huge ultrasonic cleaner. That would be so cool. It makes the 2000 I repaired, those corrosion damaged, and in fact a few of those I've done, look easy really, because there's just so much stuff you've got to take off and there's so many traces affected around here. Anyway, I've just got some flux around here at the bottom of the Agnes and Denise. Yeah, I think I mixed these up before when I was saying that was Denise and this is Paula. That was wrong. This is Denise right next to the video stuff. Paula is down here because I can sort of see that Orla, the P's gone I think, and I think the A's gone, but it says Orla on the PCB there. And that's the thing, when you clean up like this, the corrosion, you lose the silk screen, you lose the solder mask, you just end up with copper, corroded copper, that is. Anyway, so I'm just going to use some braid with a bit of solder and just tin up these here. I'll just show you a little bit of that. I can't show you everything here because I need to move the camera out of the way really. But you've seen it all before. There'll be a link top right to the A3000 video where I did some macro work while I was doing this type of thing. So the iron's at temperature, just going to heat the braid. As soon as the braid gets, there we go, to temperature, we can just have a little slide along here. Be careful not to join up some of them, pull away when you're attached, because you will lose the pad. One of the annoying things with these, and it's like this on lots of different boards really, is the component legs are bent over. So this component here, you know, the leg on the right here is bent to the left and the one on the left is bent to the right. You can't get the desolder nozzle over the top of it. So what I did is add some solder, use a sharp knife like this. I'll do the right hand side one first. Get under the edge of the pin, yeah, heat, and then sort of just push and lift a little bit. Yeah, that one's straight. Do the same with the other one. Obviously if you heat at the same time you've got the blade there, you'll sink some of the heat, so that's not what you want because then you won't be able to move it. And obviously you need to be careful not to cut or mark the PCB, but you just need the ever so slight inclination, you know, raise in angle, and then the desolder nozzle will fit over the top. Let's just try that again. There we go, that's enough. And then I can swap over to the desolder station. So yeah, it's super time consuming in every aspect here. It's not just about dealing with corrosion, just getting the things off the board is painful. Some of the solder removed there, not all of it. Of course, it's a cap, it's going to be between ground and VCC, so yeah, it's going to sink a lot of heat. Yeah, and then at this point you may need to get something on the other side to try and prise the component just on one side while you heat the one pin, because the solder won't melt properly on the other side because of the corrosion. So yeah, they're blooming painful. And you know what I'm like, I like to save the most decrepit pieces of equipment here. And generally, well, always, I will achieve that. So this board will live. And these sort of things are always a rinse repeat job. So in other words, you know, you tin up what you can, as I've done here. Some of the traces here are just not tinning up. So it's a case now of cleaning all the flux off, get the fiberglass pen back onto it again, and you know, my sharp precision tool to scratch what needs scratching off, and yeah, have another go, add some more flux and try tinning what wouldn't tin previously. Maybe even treat with some vinegar again, because the vinegar will just etch the surface marginally, and then the solder may bite, but you need enough copper there to get anything to bite. That's you know, a for certain thing really. But anyway, you can see I am making some progress here. We're starting to look a bit better up here. You can see the extent of how I tin all of these traces here. So other than the pinner damage there, so I can fix that in a minute, the Agnes can pretty much go back on, but I'm not going to do that until I've tested everything around here, including these traces that come all the way down here. So yeah, a lot more to do. I'll report back in a little bit. The connections and traces all around here are all good. I fixed a trace that I'll show you on the underside. It goes through the via and goes onto a trace, and then there's a connection that runs all the way down here and comes up, and it's the bottom one on this bus of traces here, yeah, and that's joined up on the top side here as well. I've opted to do on trace fixes rather than a wire somewhere, etc. Yeah, so there's a little bit more work it needs doing down there, and I'll cover some of these bits of copper a little bit with more solder and stuff. The Agnes socket, I'll fit a new one. I'll keep the old one, there's nothing wrong with it, but I'll fit a brand new socket there as well, just because it's a bit aged. I'd hate to fit it back on and then get the chip back in and find it splits on the edge or something along those lines. Yeah, so looking on the underside, you can see I tinned all this stuff up here. It's looking a lot better, but there was a trace broken here somewhere, and I can't even see it now. Yeah, there's a wire here that runs all the way down the trace and is joined somewhere down here and somewhere up there. And again, the via I just showed you on the other side, it comes through somewhere here, I think, and then goes onto a trace. It might be this one here, actually, I can't remember. I think there's 2 or 3 things fixed around here onto traces, but connectivity is perfect around there, no issues at all. This is certainly one of those things where you start to question, what have I got myself into? You know, the more you work on it, the more work you uncover. It's so time consuming. So yeah, this like dark green bits, this like that you've got to chip off with I don't know, I've used my sharp point tool. And once you get those off, then you just be able to get back to the bare copper. This whole area though is a huge battlefield for sure. Obviously this stuff here is probably going to come off in a minute, and some of the caps down here and that cap and the stuff around here. I'm just trying to, I don't know, work on this bit by bit, moving around different areas here. So as we've got these done, I'll probably start to focus on up here, get these things back on down here maybe, and then finish off with the stuff around here. But what I might be able to do, if I can clean around here fairly extensively and get this stuff back on, might be able to do a power test at that point. We might just be lacking the scan doubler there, and some of these chips may need replacing yet. Yeah, and I'll show you the cycle that has been repeated many times on different areas here. So cotton bud with some IPA just to mop up all of the particles there. Look at that, it's black, because obviously you're getting the paint, the solid mass comes off there, corrosion, fiberglass dust, etc. So here we go, the vinegar, which you got goldy. Yeah, it goes brighter shade of gold. Yeah, that trace there needs doing and checking. It's going through the other side, because I think that looks like a power rail one. I'd hate for there to be a power issue somewhere around here. Yeah, so just removing the RAM here. The sockets look clean, but I want to have a scrub and toothbrush, and I'm going to clean up the legs on them anyway, and we'll just refit them. So let's see if we can get onto the edge. And I can't. Even if I had a proper extractor here, there's nothing to go under the actual chip. You can't grab the edge of it. Yeah, they're not overhanging the edge of the socket like they often do. It's like I can't get under this edge here. There's nothing, it's not raised, if you see what I mean. I can't believe how hard this is proven to get out. That's it. Yeah, so it's a wee bit discoloured there maybe. No, it's alright. Yeah, and you can see, other than me just having bent those pins out marginally on that side. Yeah, just need a clean, but they're alright. Anyway, I'll get all of those out. Right, I got those two sockets back on. All of the traces up here are good. I've tested connectivity. I ended up, two of the fixed wires I had on the top side here, I ended up relocating them on the underside. There's a couple of red marks on one of the chips over there. I'll wipe those off in a minute, but yeah, I joined those two pins up. I can show you some of that connectivity in a minute. I put a new jumper on here. It's one of the ones that's got a cap, so because the pins are long, it's sort of standing up at the moment. I'll see if I can find one of the ones with holes on top that sink right down. We'll do that later. That might need to come off. These may need to come off. It looks a bit white down there, but it seems to be just a bit of very light surface stuff on there. All of the sockets look alright, but they will be cleaned up for the chip RAM. But the next focus is going to be around here, I think. I'm going to start to remove some of these smaller things around here. Remove this, and this, I think, all four of those. And then clean up really thoroughly like we did up there. Clean all this. And start to tin up just like I did up there, and like I did with those traces. It's incredibly painful repairing corrosion on one of these, it really is. But I think we can get this up and running, and I think the end result, it's going to be worth it. Because it'll be an original Commodore board, and you know what, sort of 90% of the board is going to be pretty pristine, and it will be reliable enough because I'm doing a thorough job around here. I don't want to be revisiting this. The PCB is so shot around here, desoldering it, it's doing nothing. So you remove the first one. I thought I'd lost loads of pads, but it looks like we've lost nothing around there apart from obviously the PCB from the corrosion. That one was especially hard to get out because I couldn't get this under it. I had to use a flat blade on either side. But anyway, I'm just going this a bit like a bull in a china shop here in this area, because you know what, it's pretty darn bogged. I could make it far worse, I think, just by trying to desolder for like half an hour on each chip here. So yeah, I'm just going to heat and pull with this. I think I'm getting hotter than the blooming orders. Yeah, bent pins I can live with. That's it. I think that chip's going to need replacing anyway, it's toast. So I just got the other one or two off around there. This one I'm not going to take off, because look how clean it was here. It's like these block the progression, but it does go in between the sides and things. So you know what, I might need to take them off. That might need to come off as well. And all the stuff around the audio may need to come off. But if we just now, and I'll try and do this without blocking the shot, just have a gentle wipe around here. You can see most of this is solder mask here. You know, the paint just like goes horrible and crumbles. This is the issue. You know, the battery is an absolute feel down this board. Got half capacitor here. 2 or 3 of the caps when I took them off this broke. So, you know, the corrosion's just eaten right into the cap and destroyed it. And another quick still of how the board looked at this point. So there's lots of different ways of doing something like this. You could just completely gut all the stuff, fix all the traces, check everything, and then start to install things. I kind of like to break things up as I'm going along for my own sanity, otherwise I feel like I'm making no progress. So, you know, we got those sockets on earlier, all the traces and things all there are good. Got a socket on for this PAL here, one for this one. Just double checked the trace, because this trace runs under that I fixed. Still connected and not short to the pin that's next to it, so that's all good as well. So this kind of area here, as we're expanding out, is good. There's nothing here. I don't think there's any issues. Obviously we need some caps to go back on the odd resistor around there, but that's all good. So I'm just going to continue down here now and down this way, perhaps get these things here and then we'll just finish off on this side over here. So yeah, I need to do more scratching here, maybe get a bit of solder mask paint or something, I don't know. Might just nail polish this copper bit in the middle where the battery's going to go here. I forget which one of these is the real-time clock chip and which is 74 series and stuff here. I think one of these here is the 373 or something, isn't it? I've lost track. So I'm going to have to go compare to some earlier footage, look at earlier footage or some photos. But anyway, I need to test all the connectivity around here. But before I do that, I'm just going to get this chip back in here. So again, I've shown this a million times before. Use the fiberglass pencil. These have been cleaned with vinegar already. Yeah, so I'll just go along the top, along the surface there, the actual length of the pins. Stick it down on the flat surface, and the same thing here, just forwards, backwards, gently. Toothbrush and IPA. Yeah, don't be under the illusion that you can salvage every single component around here. Trust me, you can't. The capacitors, a lot of them, the ceramic ones, just disintegrate, and that's with or without hot air. Hot air is the safest way to get them off. You risk delamination if you overheat, but you know what, the board is in such a state, I think the least of our worries is any kind of heat damage, unless it did start to, well, properly delaminate, but anyway, that's not happening. So let's just try and heat here. Sorry if I'm blocking it, it's really difficult to get the right angles and things here. Let's just see if we can pull. And some of these there are pretty thick rails. This is the problem. They're like on the VCC and ground. Let's try and get that bit out now. We're almost done here. There's just a diode, this leg here. Which is almost there. There we go, it's that out. And this leg here. Like you just get the wrong angle, you can't get the darn thing out. Final thing here is a diode. Kind of looks like a 1N4001 or something. Which, to be fair, is probably what it is. Just one side out. That cap's going to melt, don't care, it's going to get replaced. that one out. Yeah, this may explode doing this. I don't care, I'm going to pull it out this way, because I know that trying to solder those pins will prove fruitless. You know, you just destroy the pads, that's the problem. There we go. Yes, so I'm using this tool with magnification here, and there's little bits of paint that have gone like bubbly and hard, like little hard lumps, and I'm just like gently scratching around. And then go over with the fiberglass pencil. If you just use the fiberglass pencil, it won't shift them. A lot of the time they do not come off. I'm trying to use my left hand here just so I don't block the camera. But if you scratch around the solder point and around the leg, and then you can use the fiberglass brush and just press into and rotate like that. The rotation works just the same as going up and down like that. You'd be amazed at how much you can get off, but yeah, these will come off and probably get replaced. Anyway, you can do that where it's light, you know, moderate corrosion, but here, these four really need to come off. Get it down to a level like that. You can then add some flux, and I'll show you that in a minute, and some braid, and drag you know, the braid with a bit of solder and stuff and tin it up. It's some solder onto the tip. It's going to be out of focus a little bit, I think. Yeah, I've got some flux all up and down here, so I'm just going to just heat the braid, get right up to the edge there where it's exposed. So an epic amount of rework going on here. Just tinned up the first 5 or 6 pins there where Paul is. You can see they look really dull and reddy and horrible browny here, so got some flux on there. So using the fume extractor from ZX Kim 81 here is no longer with us, but it's a case of, you know, heating the braid with some solder on it and just going over the pads like that. Even the stuff on the underside is an absolute nightmare, as you can see. Just clean up with the fiberglass brush here. So many dark traces there. We're going to lose a number of these, I would think. Yeah, anyway, I can't show you all of this because it just turned into like a 10 or 20 hour long video. I mean, I've been at this for days already. I'm just trying to break it up though, doing a few hours here and there. I get cheesed off with it and I go, right, okay, we'll come back later. But yeah, you know, it's the same sort of process as up here. Tin this stuff up. I think there was one trace patched here. Just unblocked some of the connections there next to Agnes, because I'm going to have a bit of a clean around, you know, scrub on the underside here once I've finished removing the corrosion here. Toothbrush on the solder points of the things, you know, the Agnes and the Denise socket that's soldered on. Clean the underside, clean the top side, hoover it down both sides, and then start to introduce one or two things. So the components on the other side here, I think I removed the 2 components from there, and then tin up and fix around here, and eventually I'm going to come to the point where I can get the hauler back on, but there's still going to be more stuff to remove. The audio stuff onto that side of the board there, it's going to need to come off, and obviously just got so much to do, so time consuming. The tissue there is just to stop me splattering the other side of the board, although the whole board probably will be thoroughly clean towards the back end of the video. But it isn't just about making this now presentable, it's about so I can see really clearly, you know, what's what really. What I wouldn't do on a repair like this is power up until you've dealt with 99.9% of the corrosion. Check the rails and things to make sure you've got no shorts, but also, more importantly, you've got power and ground going to all of the chips around here. That is one thing I will be doing on here, because I don't want to get into some sort of latch up scenario where someone dies just because it was lacking the ground. Using this dry brush like this, you just get most of the streaks off, provided there's no flux that are making the streaks anyway. That's looking a lot cleaner. I think that about wraps it up for part 1. You can see here, this is how the board looks at the start of part 2. I think at this point in the repair, as you see the board here, had probably spent about 20 or more hours actually. But most of the work is spent on the smaller issues. It's always like that in life, isn't it? You'll spend like 95% of your time dealing with 5% of the issues. So yeah, you can imagine how many hours I will actually have spent on this by the time we get to the end. Anyway, we'll pick up in part 2. I do hope you found the video interesting. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the Ko-fi and the Patreon links down below. I'll catch you in the next video.